I was lucky enough to be born into farming. So mum and dad have got a tenanted farm in the Scottish Borders, and I kind of just always had a passion for helping out on the farm and helping mum and dad. And also I think I was the eldest of three girls, and I kind of feel that I took over the mantle of the kind of the boy, and I just got really stuck in from an early age. And also dad did a lot of contracting, and he was away from home a lot, so mum did a lot of the sheep work, and I just kind of joined in from an early age, and that was kind of the start of it. And then when I was 17, I went and did the only shepherding course in the country at Kirkley Hall. So it was just a year-long course, and it taught you all about sheep management. And the biggest pro of that course was the fact I was allowed to take on a sheepdog and get it trained as the course progressed. So that was kind of where it all started. So that was my very first shot at a trial, and it was just a great experience. And from there, I began contracting full time, just doing work for lots of other farmers, getting their sheep in, dosing, vaccinating, all the usual stuff to do with sheep. And yeah, and it's been a slippery slope ever since to where we are now. So when I took on Fallowlees, I was 23 years old, and I've been told that was the youngest, but who knows? I wouldn't like to fact check it because I've no idea how I would. But yeah, it was a big baptism of fire for me. I'd never lived by myself before, and suddenly I was out in this ramshackle farm with no mains power, water, electric, nothing, by myself. So it was kind of sink or swim. And I think maybe I sank a little bit, but I quickly learned to swim. So I was at Fallowlees for 11 years, from 23 to 34. And me and my husband have been very lucky, and we've just secured the tenancy on a farm on the Isle of Bute, 680 acres of mixed ground, which has just been the best thing that's ever happened to us. It's just been such a stroke of luck, and we're loving it, absolutely loving it. Yeah, so we moved on the 1st of March, and it was pretty tricky, obviously, because we moved all our livestock just before they were due to lamb and calve. So that obviously posed quite a lot of problems. And obviously being on an island and quite far away from where we were based, it was quite a stressful journey for everyone involved. The sheep, the cows, me, my husband, everything was fairly stressful. But we've kind of never looked back. It's definitely been a good move because the ground here is so much better. We're not having anywhere near the same number of problems that we would have had before at Fallowlees. So yeah, we're like, our lambs look tremendous this year, and we've got some ready, and the price is really good. So we really needed this year to be a good one, and to touch wood, it has been so far. So at the moment, the farm is 680 acres, and we have 100 acres of arable. So we've put that into spring barley, pretty much because it was in stubble when we arrived, and we just needed to make a decision really quickly. Because we're on an island, it's not as easy as just going out and just buying what you want when you want. There's buying groups here, and it needs to be done quite quickly. So that's in barley, and then we've got 40 of our own cows, and we've just taken on the dairy rearing contract for nearly 60 dairy bred heifers. And then we have 500 crossbred ewes. So they're a mixture of mules and texels. We also, when we came into the farm, we didn't have enough headage, but we couldn't afford to buy any more sheep, not at £140 a head. So we bought 100 Welsh Mountain ewes, and we've been really, really delighted with how they've performed. Really great little hardy ewes that did really well, and we didn't really need to do too much with. So we're not very far above sea level, if you imagine being on an island anyway. So it's very much like the Borders countryside. It's kind of rolling hills. There's nothing too difficult. We've got quite a lot of coastline, which means we've got it's quite close to the rock, so we're kind of suffering a bit this year because we haven't had rain in just forever. So everything close to the rock's just burning, which is a bit disappointing, but it's the way it goes. This apparently Butte's one of the driest places in the country, and it's normally one of the wettest. But it's just one of those crazy years, I guess. So we're praying for rain. Yeah, so like I say, we did the 1 year course at Kirkley Hall. We were able to train your own sheepdog, and that kind of just ignited the flame. And I don't know, it's just something I've always had and wanted to be good at. So right throughout my life, I've always had my collies by my side and just been really passionate about training them and learning how to train them better. And to be honest, the collies have kind of funded us to be where we are now. We've had a couple of good prices for them, and that's really important because I think the capital you need to go into a farm is so colossal, and it's really hard to earn that from farming. Whereas the collies have had a couple of big price tags, and that's, you know, it's like paid for the tractor, paid for our cows, paid for everything. And every time we kind of feel, oh, you know, things are getting a bit tough, we're just like, right, we're just gonna have to sell one of our dogs. Yeah, absolutely. We don't, whenever we get a dog, we imagine that it's going to be, you know, a champion and with us for a long time, and we always train them with that in mind. So it's always tough to sell a dog, but we've kind of just come to terms with it, and we're like, you know, that we try and train them up to the highest level we can, so that they're very valuable and very valued. And that way we figure they're always going to land themselves in a good home and be well looked after.
Yeah.
Jamie's obviously going to always be a solid favourite. He's taken me further than I ever dreamed possible. You know, he's been such a good work dog and such a successful trial dog. And it's really nice that I'm seeing so many of these pups out there in the country now. And they're all performing quite well, so I'm very pleased with that. And my new upcoming dog is the dog that was actually born on the TV show This Farm in Life.
Okay,
He's called Gray, and he's proven to be quite a good asset. He's a very tough dog, so he's very old-fashioned in the way he works. You know, he's very much just get on with the job. And maybe he hasn't got quite the finesse of some of the trial dogs, but I just think his temperament's to die for, and he's just very tough. Like nothing ever stands and faces him for very long. When they win a trial. Yeah, no, in all reality, it's really nice to see something you've taken from a pup. Like we always take our dogs through from pups, and to see them out on a trial field doing well, and people come to you and say, do you know, oh, that's a really good dog. That is the best feeling in the whole world. Because you know that maybe that dog wouldn't have achieved that had you not been there for it and taken it through all the difficulties that arise in training.
Yeah.
But also, I think just seeing that sheepdog, the instinct, just igniting them the first couple of times you take them out is always really exciting, and knowing that you've got something that in a year's time is going to be a valuable asset.
Yeah.
There's so many bits of the sheepdog training that I love. It's just all the way through. It's hard to pinpoint what exact bit, but the combination of them all joined together is just, it's a great hobby and career to have. Yeah, right at the beginning, when I was just trying, because I always knew I wanted to be able to train them, but right at the beginning I really, really struggled, because it's like learning to ride a horse on an unbroken animal. It's so tricky, because you're trying to teach something that you don't really know about. So right at the beginning I had lots of times where I'd be like just crying in tears in the field watching my dog disappear in the distance.
That's very relatable.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is, because they're predators. And then I remember one day where my young dog just disappeared off after the neighbour's sheep on this huge hill, and I was just like, oh my god, this is just going to be so bad, and the neighbour's going to shoot her, and this is going to be a disaster, and everyone's going to know about it. And you know, it was just, yeah, I think we've all had times like that, and it's definitely gets easier as you get more experience, because then you can kind of appreciate it's just a phase. And also I think once you've got the older dogs, they can kind of help a lot and teach the youngsters what to do. But at the beginning, it's a total nightmare. And like I say, I would recommend anybody wanting to train a sheepdog, get a trained one to start with, and they'll teach you the ropes and make it much easier for you to train your pup. Yeah, I think when I won my day at the National with Jamie when he was just a 2-year-old, that was really amazing. Because the best bit was, I remember coming into the pub and all the competitors were already in the pub. And I walked into the pub and everyone just started like a round of applause. And honestly, it was just like the best moment. Like to be like recognized for what my dog had done was just amazing. And that was kind of me hitting the big time. And yeah, I was very, very proud, very, very proud. Probably when my dog Roy made the international up in Tain, and it was something I'd always aimed for, and I was so proud to be there. And he went out absolutely perfectly to the top of the field, and I gave him the wrong whistle, and it just set the sheep seesawing all the way down the fetch. And I was just like, the very first thing you said to your dog was the wrong command. You've been waiting for it your whole life, and then you messed it up. But yeah, nerves, I guess it was nerves.
Yeah.
But I've had lots of bad moments. There's been lots of times. Yeah, I think if you make dogs your career, it's sad saying goodbye to them. And I think that's probably the hardest part of it all. And I think to some extent, that's why I always try and sell them before. The ones you keep to old age, it just breaks your heart when you have to lose them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, sometimes it's easier to say goodbye to them when they're young, fit and healthy, and you can sell them to someone else so that they can love them.
Yeah.
And it's kind of an easier parting. I think This Farm in Life is obviously a massive catalyst for the following we have on Instagram. You could see every episode that went out on TV. I would probably gain about 1,000 followers each time, and that was real good. I mean, we did get a boost from a sold Meg for the world record price, but definitely This Farm in Life is responsible for a lot of our social media following. And I found it a little bit difficult to come to terms with, because there's so many people following us, and before I just used to post whatever I fancied, and now you kind of have to be a little bit more responsible. And I feel obviously because we're more in the public eye, the public feel they've got more entitlement to be mean and comment and judge. So we've kind of come to terms with that, and we've just had to develop a rather thick skin. I wouldn't say quite a lot. I would say the vast majority are very positive and friendly, but there's always going to be some. And yet you tend to dwell on the negative ones rather than the positive ones, because it's just human nature. But I'm just getting good at blocking people now. You know what? The greatest percentage of people following me is from London. So I would say the majority of them won't be farmers. We always thought that the main demographic of people who watch This Farm in Life would be farmers. But in actual fact, the biggest audiences for the programme come from London and Birmingham. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know, maybe it's escapism for them. It's nice and unexpected. But obviously the main contact I have with people is from people in the farming community, because obviously they can relate to what we're doing and what we're going through, which is really nice. And they're almost always messages of support. The most common one is generally people get in touch and they say, got a collie puppy, what are your top tips on training them?
I'm pretty sure I popped up and asked that question.
So generally I say, have you read any books or watched any DVDs? And they usually say no. And I'm like, well, that's your first port of call, because with the best will in the world, me giving you a couple of tips is not going to train your sheepdog. So I'm like, get this book, get this DVD, and then come back to me if you have any problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my main one.
But
mostly people, the biggest thing is a lot of people contact us, like young new entrants who are desperate to be on the farming ladder and can't get a foothold. Because obviously we're people who have gone, you know, I started out with a really, really tiny, marginal, difficult farm, and now we're on like a really, really good farm. So people are just wanting tips on how that can come about. And also, I think people sometimes just contact me to air their frustrations, because land is so hard to get a hold of. And they just really, they're just really frustrated. And just kind of sharing that with us, because obviously we were frustrated for a long time too. No, we never thought we were going to get a farm this good in a million years. Like, we couldn't believe it. We still can't believe it. We're like, oh, but embarrassed. We're like, how did this happen? Like, we always knew that we wanted to move on from Fallowlees to a bigger spot so that we could both work there full time. But if we'd have stayed at Fallowlees forever, it would have been fine. We were comfortable with what we had there, and we had an amazing spot. And yeah, it was difficult. We don't think we realised how difficult it was until we've come to a good one. But when the opportunity came up, we were snatching that with both hands as quick as we could. So, and yeah, we're never here. It's just unbelievable. It was really weird how it all happened. Like, I'm pretty sure my English teacher would not have said I was going to be an author. It was when the media first discovered me. So I had this really nice piece in the Daily Mail about this sort of like poor lovelorn shepherdess out in the middle of nowhere by herself, sort of picture of me, stood on the moors with my hair blown in the wind and stuff. And I think it kind of romanticized it. So the publishers actually approached me and said, listen, it's a really interesting story. Would you be interested? And I was like, yeah, of course I would. Because at this point I was on my arse financially and they were obviously going to pay for it. So I was like, perfect. So I wrote that book, and it sold like well, and it was well received. So when it happened that this Farm Life were going to follow us, I contacted them again and said, listen, this would be a really good platform to do it again. And obviously a lot had happened in the meantime, like I'd broken my back, there was lots of traumatic injuries, there was lots of drama and incidents and over the next 10 years. And obviously it kind of culminated in moving to Butte. And actually, when I started writing the book, Butte wasn't even on the cards. It wasn't even mentioned. I didn't know anything was coming up. But it seemed like a really nice ending to our story. And I couldn't have believed it could have tied up better.
Yeah.
So that book was published in April, just like a month after we moved, and it's been really well received actually as well. It's got good ratings on Amazon, and so far all the feedback's been really good. Apart from one really staunch Christian guy said he couldn't read it because it was a swear word. I must have said Jesus at one point as a swear word, and he was like, oh, terrible. So couldn't read it. Straight in the bin.
Oh no.
It's pretty much like every farmer, you kind of have to really kick yourself up the arse to go and sit down at the desk and do paperwork, because obviously we're farmers and we want to be outside all the time. So I really had to make time, go, right, I'm going to sit down and write this now. And it was, as soon as it's like any paper, as soon as you sit down and start doing it, it's fine. But it's getting the motivation to sit down, especially because I wrote it in that, in the summer months. And it's really hard to try and sit in the house when it's so nice outside. And you're like, oh, the lambs need foot bathed, or this needs done, and the dogs need trained. But yeah, it's just like anything, just sit down and do it, and it gets done. I don't know. It's not something I'm planning at the moment. We'll just have to see what happens. Actually, the book rights for my first book, they're just under negotiation for a TV drama at the moment. So you never know. If that comes off, then maybe. But we've been in this situation a couple of times before and it's never come off yet, so I'm not going to hold my breath. But if that comes off, that would be exciting.
And will you play you?
Not a chance. I can't act for Toffee. This Farming Life's amazing and the crew are really great and we got on really, really well with them. And I found it a lot more enjoyable than stuff we've done in the past because it tends to be very structured in other programs and very much like you speak, oh no, we need to do another take, oh, we need to do another take, oh, we need to do another take, at which point I get really confused and stressed about it all. Whereas this Farming Life's much more natural and they just go with the flow. Because to be honest, I don't really like being in front of the cameras, but it doesn't feel like that when it's on this Farming Life because they're my friends and it's just so natural just to chat away to them. And I think that really comes across on the show, how comfortable we are with them, which helps the show, I think. And it's very tastefully done, which we really, really appreciate. Really just that I'm not a good public speaker and I'm really not like people think must be like a showboater because we're on TV and stuff, but I'm actually quite quiet and reserved and it's really, I don't like being the center of attention. And I think my friends are always like, yeah, the people who know me appreciate that that's who I am, whereas I think when you see me on TV and because I'm natural on TV because I got on well with the crew, people wouldn't appreciate that I don't like it. Not well, obviously. I haven't welcomed anybody onto the farm this year because it's been so hopeless with COVID. It's something we might look at doing in the future, like dog and duck displays. At the moment, we just feel we're on a permanent treadmill and we haven't got time for anything, you know, beyond the basics of farming. In the future, we would like to. And in the past, I've done dog and duck displays for other people and they've been quite enjoyable. So it's something we'll think about in the future, but not in the moment. I think the most rewarding part of farming is the fact that it changes every day. There's not like a set day. Like sometimes I get asked, what's a typical day in your life? And I'm like, the joy of it is there isn't a typical day. It changes from week to week, month to month, year to year. And I quite like the seasonal changes. So you never get a chance to get bored of anything. Because as soon as you're starting to think, oh, I've been doing this all week, it's next week and there's other jobs to be done. So I think that's the beauty of it. And also being outside all the time is great. You know, we're getting to appreciate all this amazing weather we've had. Although we really, really, really need some rain now. Love the autumn. I think when the lambs are mostly away and the ewes are getting ready to be tapped, and that's when I get a huge amount of dog training done as well, because the sheep are just, because they're all in their little groups, it makes it much easier for dog training. And just the weather is really nice then, and the leaves have changed. Definitely my favourite, although I love lambing time as well. The winter, I tell you, I hate January and February. They're the worst months in the world.
Yeah. Do you think that's just a bit dark and dismal, or?
Yeah, it's just like it hardly even gets light, does it? And then it's dark again and the weather's miserable and it's the routine of just feeding every day. It's all you're doing is just feeding. And then, yeah, it's just, yeah, miserable. It's horrendous, but probably my phone. I think a phone's pretty crucial, not just for kids staying in contact. I just think if you're alone working, it makes sense to have a phone on you in case anything happens. And with the best will in the world, things happen on farms. And I think it's just that safety thing, so you can get in touch with someone. Yeah, I broke my back rolling a quad. Oh God, that could have been, I'm going to say it was about 8-9 years ago. So that was miserable. Would not recommend that to anyone, and was really lucky not to be paralysed. So I'm really count my lucky stars. And there's lots of little accidents, you know, they've always got like, you know, I think everyone's the same. You get like cuts and bruises and trips and falls. And working with livestock is pretty dangerous. So we've just taken over this dairy contract, and so these dairy heifers around with 2 dairy bulls. Oh my God, they are crazy, like absolutely crazy. Like I've worked with livestock my whole life and I've never met dairy bulls before, but they have a reputation, and these 2 boys definitely live up to it. They're just mean.
Yeah. Is there any kind of option to get rid of them any sooner, or?
I hope so. No, I think they'll be here until November. You just have to have your wits about it. At least they're not pretending to be nice bulls and then turning. They're just unpleasant to start with.
Yeah.
Opening up farming to the wider audience is crucial for farming survival. I think we need a better understanding, and we need to involve as many people as possible. And I think obviously social media is a massive platform for farming to have access to, and I think if we can open it up and get more people involved, it can only be a good thing for farming. Future for us is we're planning to go organic, which is a bit of a dirty word on the island. There's no organic farms on the island at the moment, but we just feel it's the right choice for us. And the way we farm is fairly organic anyway. And we just kind of think in the future that people are going to look a little bit, there's always going to be the people who want the cheap food, and we can't compete with the cheap food. You know, we can't compete with food from Australia coming in that is just, you know, it's just so much cheaper. So we kind of feel that we're going to target more the Waitrose, M&S buyers who are going to want to see that it's organic and well reared and traceable. And we just feel that with our platform as well, people might want to buy from us direct, and we think that that's the kind of meat they would want, is something that's traceable and organic. So that's our next step anyway. So watch this space, although I'm not sure if the islanders will really appreciate us.
It might put Isle of Bute on the map.
Maybe. Or we might have just lots of nettles and thistles waving in the wind. We shall see. Yeah, that's what we think we'll plan to do. At the moment, we haven't got any time to do it, but by the time we go organic, because obviously there's a conversion period of a couple of years, we're hoping by the end of that, we should be in a good position to, you know, provide direct sales, or just even if we could provide direct to a butcher, and then, you know, they could have that kind of traceability, because I think people would want to know where their meat comes from. And also we've got the largest salt marsh on the island, and I just think people say salt marsh lamb's amazing. I haven't tried it yet, but we're hoping to, and I think that's a good selling point for us. Yeah, this farm is an amazing playground for sheepdogs. We can't believe how good it is. So we're just going to hope to carry on with our training and hopefully start hitting those top levels soon. And we're going to continue to try and sell those elite high level dogs. And obviously that's an important branch of our business. So we've been really lucky in that the appetite for the working dogs has just rocketed, and we really hope that it's going to continue in that vein. And we do predict it continue in that vein, so that they can kind of, because at the moment the dogs are completely propping up the farm. At the moment we haven't had, since last autumn, we haven't had any income from the farm at all. So we're still waiting on selling lambs and calves, and at the moment we've had to outlay such a huge amount for, you know, the ingoings of the farm and buying more stock and whatnot, and the dogs have just supported all of that. So we're looking forward to the farm starting to pay its way, which will be nice, hopefully in a couple of weeks' time.